Hey friends, how are you doing today? Happy Thursday. Today I am coming to you with a little bit about, wait for it, shame. Yep, I decided to go with this because it's been something that I've been thinking about and I don't want to say dealing with, but just reflecting on and pondering, and I've had a couple conversations with different people about it, and when that starts to happen I have this sense like, oh, maybe you should talk about this in a wider context. So here I am, and I approach this conversation with the utmost compassion and without judgment, and with the awareness that each of us, as I had a teacher who used to say, we're all divine particulars. So, and then Rumi has this image of, in one of his poems about the light, we're all the fragmented light that shines through the window. So there's a lot of spiritual stuff that happens in there. But what I'm trying to say is that we all come from this place of oneness, and fundamentally, we're all okay. Now, how does that relate to shame? So our emotions all have a purpose, I think. There's not any human emotion that doesn't have an appropriate time and place. And if you're feeling something, it's for a reason, and that's okay. Does that mean you should act on it? Not necessarily. Sometimes definitely no, like sit on it, have some feelings, and then when you're cool and calm-headed, then it's appropriate to go and have a conversation about something or make some changes. Shame is so sticky because it's a really important social emotion, and there are times when it is 100% appropriate to feel ashamed. So those situations are when you have wronged someone else, when you have hurt someone else. If you have said something to someone that was really hurtful, if you've acted in a way that, is not considerate or appropriate necessarily, or professional in a professional context, these are places where shame is good, because what that allows you to do is you have a feeling of shame, and then you're like, ooh, that feels awful. Let me not do this again. And so you learn something, and then you improve and you make your behavior better. This is the purpose of shame. This is why it exists, to my mind and my way of thinking. However, there are a lot of times and situations where we feel ashamed and we don't need to. There's no reason for it, because we're not doing anything wrong. We're not hurting anyone else. There's nothing at stake for that social reason for shame. So I'll give you an example which you may not agree with, and that's totally fine. But from my perspective, and I'm going to come in on food. So this is so loaded. I'm so nervous to talk about this, everyone, but I'm just going to plow ahead and hopefully it's okay. So as a naturopathic med student, food is so charged. And even before I was in school, I did a Whole30, my first one years ago, and I remember getting flack from everyone about it, and it was like my boyfriend was mad at me because it was going to be Thanksgiving and I was going to meet his family, and he's like, you're going to be weird because you're not eating what everyone else is eating, and like friends and family, it was just like a gross feeling, and I was like, you know what, this is what I feel like I need to do. I'm just going to do it. Like, stop. And I did. I felt ashamed for doing something to take care of myself, which is why? No. But that social proof is really strong, in that social sense of, oh, like I need to fit in with the people around me. That is a really intense driver. It's really strong because we're community-based beings. We need each other. We need to be connected to one another. And so when we're in these situations where we're not wronging anyone else, but the people close to us feel uncomfortable because we're making a change for ourselves, that can bring up some shame in us and potentially also in the other people around us. But this is not useful shame because it keeps us from moving forward in a positive direction. Now, on the other side of things, if you're still thinking about food, there's the issue of like fast food or convenience foods and this kind of thing. And I've talked to so many people, and it like the conversation always starts like, oh, like I know I shouldn't be eating this, or like I know I shouldn't like stop at this restaurant to get food, like I shouldn't stop at McDonald's, or I shouldn't stop at Taco Bell, or insert favorite fast food restaurant here. But like I just, one, like I just really enjoy it, or two, it's convenient and I need to eat. And this is another situation where shame, not so helpful, because again, you're not hurting anyone else. And this bleeds into a huge topic about sustainability and farming practices and food industry and all of this. And so that's its own conversation, and it's much more involved than these 10 minutes I have with you right now. And at the same time, eating intuitively and following that impulse of, oh, I'd really like to have this thing right now, and I can, so I will. There's nothing shameful about that. There's nothing wrong with that. We can have the same conversation about sexuality. Not shameful. There's nothing wrong with it. We're made to have sex. Like, we're made to follow these impulses and act accordingly. Does that mean that we should be rude to one another or not care for one another? Absolutely not. We 100% should. But there's no shame in it. None. So you see where it's a complicated topic. But what I want to leave you with is a sense that, or just a reflection question, I guess, to think about where shame comes up for you and why it's coming up. Is it because you are hurting someone else? You are acting in a way that is contrary to what we need to be acting as, no, the way we need to be acting as humans together in a community? Because if that's why you're feeling shame, feel it. Yes, you should be ashamed. Did you yell at someone you shouldn't have yelled at? You should be ashamed. Did you harass someone inappropriately? Should feel some shame about that, like not okay, and fix the behavior. However, if you're feeling shame because you feel like you shouldn't go through a drive-through when you got off work at 9:30 and just want to grab a bite to eat on your way home, why? It's so not worth it. So not worth it. And letting it go is super challenging. I'm not trying to make light of the situation, because I also have some things that I have shame about that it's hard for me to let go. Like, having that feeling and that social proof is, like I said, such a huge driving force, and letting that go is really, really challenging, and it can be done. And if this is you, if you're in a situation where you feel shame and you're not doing anything wrong against yourself or anyone else, I invite you to just send it out into the ether, the question or the request of, I feel this, I know it's not helping me. How do I let this go? How do I move through this? And I know that if you are sincere in that request, which I know that you will be if you make it, the answer is going to come. You're going to find some resources. You're going to find someone to talk to. You're going to figure out the information that you need. You'll find some practices that will be helpful for you. And if you continue to do that work, you'll be able to release that shame in a really beautiful way so that you can live life so much more fully and enjoyably. So, okay. There's a lot wrapped in all that. And I said I was going to leave you with that, but I'm going to leave you with this one last thing, that you're good. I see you, and you've got this, and you're not doing anything wrong unless you are doing something wrong. But for the most part, you're probably not doing anything wrong, and you can trust yourself. So, all right, friends. That's the end of that rambler there. Take care. I hope that you have a great weekend.